Welcome to episode 29 of the Trash Talk Business Podcast. If you are in the junk removal world in any way, shape, or form, junk removal, deconstruction, demolition, dumpster hauling, dumpster manufacturer, dumpster picking up, and I keep adding a bunch of industries that don't even actually exist. Anyways, if you're in that world, you are in the junk removal subsegment of the greater waste industry. Here on the Trash Talk Business Podcast, we talk about how you can grow, scale, get into, or get out of this business. And occasionally we talk a little trash. Today, as always, I'm joined by my co-host from the great state of Texas, Casey Bubba Lawrence. We just shot another episode talking about the Cowboys, so we're not going to talk about the Cowboys. Yeah. What's good in Texas these days?
The Cowboys. And barbecue.
Oh, my God. All right. Well, barbecue ain't new.
Weather. We actually just got fall, so everybody's excited. Pumpkin spice lattes are out now.
Oh, my God.
The leaves are changing colors.
Casey is the hardest guy I know that drinks passion fruit margaritas at the Cheesecake Factory. Not an official sponsor, but we'll get to it. All right, Casey, what are we talking about this week?
Well, we have another guest, and he's actually up in your hood, Joseph Renfro from the Milwaukee, Wisconsin area. We're going to talk to him a little bit, get to know him, what he's doing, why he's doing it.
Are you from Milwaukee, Joseph?
Yeah, I'm from Milwaukee, but I junk here in Atlanta, Georgia, metro area.
So you have the complete – I'm from Atlanta, but I live in Milwaukee, and I haul junk in Milwaukee. So there we go, right? Brother from another mother. I like it. Where in Milwaukee you from?
I am actually from the northwest side of the city, mainly in the Silver Spring area. I listened to an episode from you today where you said something about 84th and Call. I grew up on 62nd.
Oh, yeah, 84th and Call. That was United Milwaukee Scrap. That was my scrap yard. There was 84th and Call, and then Ruby's yard was over off of 89th and Fond du Lac. So I grew up 105th and Stark. 105th and Stark, and then moved out to the Menominee Falls area, and then I moved back to 107th and Mill Road. So that's where I do my work. And now I'm north of the city. I'm up in Mequon, but my shop is in Butler. So northwest side, pretty much all my life in some way, shape, or form. Anyways.
Oh, okay, right. Sounds good. I'm over here in the northwest, or I'm over here in the north side of Atlanta, from the north side of Milwaukee. I service the whole metro area, but I mainly do the Gwinnett and DeKalb County area.
Yep, I am from DeKalb County, so I grew up. My parents were up in Stone Mountain. So whenever I go, we moved when I was 4, but I weirdly, whenever I get to Atlanta, or even especially Stone Mountain, when I actually climb Stone Mountain, I get this weird feeling like I've been there before because obviously I have, right? But it's like that. I can't remember it, but the smell. The feel, I feel like I'm at home, and I love Southern cooking. So I'll go down there, put on some weight, walk it off on the mountain, and away we go. All right, so let's talk. So you've been a listener. I was just telling Casey and you right before the show here, right? You're one of the last of the random listeners, right? For a while there, we're like, hey, anybody and everybody, we want to see what sticks. And then as we really develop this podcast, we're going to figure out what people are gravitating towards. So we're excited to have you. Let's talk about how long you've been in business. What's the size of your crew? And let's get into that information, and then we'll jump into the day-to-day challenges and struggles and what you know.
All right. So I've been doing this for 2 years. So I am still in the early stages of the business. I'm a part-timer, but I'm looking to go full-time eventually. I've been in the junk removal. I've been interested since the pandemic. So I started exactly when I had the thought of it. What got me interested in you guys is you being from Milwaukee, and I know nothing about junk removal up there, but I've been down here for 5 years, so I'm just interested in different perspectives, especially from an area that I know of.
Okay.
And how you being successful in that area, which is amazing to me because I can't fathom. I'm from the same area, but it just doesn't. It's different than here.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. So let's jump into that. So you said you're doing part-time. You got a full-time job then still?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, cool. All right, and you know what? I did that. So for that perspective, just like you got started in the pandemic, I got started in late 2008, winter 2009 after I got laid off. So I was, before I even did junk removal, I was banging the alleys like we were just talking about. I was banging up the alleys around 95th and Silver Spring, right?
Okay.
Like 95th and Carmen. I was driving
Gotcha.
the industrial parks. I was driving the alleys, and I was picking up scrap. And I was like, if I could find an appliance, like sheet iron at the time was like 200, 240 a ton. So I was getting 10, 12 cents a pound, and I was banging it out. And then eventually I figured out there were some people that were willing to pay me like $30 to $50 to pull appliances out of their house. And I was like, this is awesome, right? I'm getting 30, 40 bucks for the appliance, plus I'm getting 10, 15, 20 for scrap. Dude, this is the greatest hustle ever. And I was hauling trailers on the northwest side of Milwaukee, Menominee Falls, Brown Deer, like $100 a trailer. But I was taking everything to Milwaukee Self-Help, right? And now being a real business, you can't go to the self-help centers, right? So a lot of people out there that are in your position or even, listening, they're skilled. We all found ways to do it on the cheap because you had to, right? But I remember the first time I wrapped my truck and I drove in the landfill, I'd been paying like $15 to $20 when I go to the landfill because I had a residency in Menominee Falls. I pulled in with my brand new fucking shiny ass Jeep. I'm like, man, look how baller I am. I just picked up a safe for $125. I thought, man, I'm baller. I pulled out the scale house. They charged me $140. Right? I got paid $125. I charged $140. I go, what is this? It was just like, and I didn't have the money. I remember my brother and I went back to our house. We were like 2 weeks into business. We thought we were already done. We're like, shit, we can't sustain. Like we just hit this like insurmountable mountain on us, but you figure it out, right? And then we figure out, oh no, we got to take full loads to the landfill. Right, we had an unmarked vehicle, so we used to run the unmarked vehicle as much as we could, take the signs off the side of the trailer. We did it all, right? And then eventually that catches up with you, and you just eventually learn to level up your game. So that's how we did it. Again, that's very high level. How we went from banging around just to pay my mortgage to now got a 30,000 square foot building in Butler, 10 trucks in our fleet, and having the opportunity to do the podcast, right? But it took day in and day out, taking care of people, figuring out what you make money on, figuring out what you don't make money on. And it's a cycle. You grow, but you have to constantly evaluate what's working and what's not working.
Correct.
So real quick, Joseph, are you planning on moving back up to Milwaukee area? Or are you planning to stay in Georgia and Atlanta?
My kids are up there in Milwaukee, but no, I will probably never live up here. No, I'll probably won't. I love it. My hometown. I've been up there for the first 26 years of my life, but I'm good.
The reason I ask is because Andy and I, we learned a lot in this business. Obviously, he's been doing this a lot longer than me, but the South is way different than the North.
Yeah, way different.
And I'll tell you this right now. Especially Georgia. I know Georgia. I'm familiar with it. And, for me, it's one of those things where you look at the growth areas. Atlanta is popping. Huge. I mean, it's insane right now. And I know Andy and I have always talked about construction, and he's never really got into construction cleanup too much. And I did very well in it to the point where I got to be picky because I was like, look, I'm tired of getting my ass kicked all the time. But in the South, man, I know there's a lot of construction needs, especially for projects that are already going on. So that's why I was just curious if you were planning on moving or not. Because if not, then what do you do? What's your full-time job, if you don't mind me asking?
I work for a food service company. So I basically so I started at 3 a.m.
Yep.
And I'm done.
Yeah.
My days are flexible, so I'm typically done no later than 11. And from 11 on, I crank out jobs if need be. I try to put boots on. Well, now is the season where I put boots on the ground. Like this year, this is year 2 for me. I got my first commercial account, and they've been doing me really good. So my thing is to try to get more of those storage units, which is my favorite ones to do.
Yeah. No. Storage units are meant. This is why I love storage units. It goes 2 reasons. 1, a lot of times you can pull right up to them. 2, even if they're multiple story or all over the place, they're always handicapped accessible, which means there's always carts and there's always elevators. Like you can bang jobs without stairs, right? And again, this is very, very tactical, but why I love storage units. Get after the storage units. That's where it's at. Speaking of, I got to go back after. There's a couple of storage unit companies that I lost, but I went through a name change. I got to get back to it. I gotta get
And
them
I've
back.
got my
Storage units
first
are great.
one this year, and they've been amazing to me. Had them since May. So my
How
thing
many
is,
times? How many times a month are you doing for them?
I don't know. I can't tell you how many a month, but all together, I've invoiced them 19 since May.
I love it. 19 cents. All right, that's 5 a month, basically, right? 4 or 5
Yeah.
months. Okay, so let's talk about that real quick. So one of the, I do like the fact you know your numbers, right? I love Shark Tank, right? They always talk about the numbers. And one of the challenges I see with guys and myself, right? If you asked me the first 2-3 years, I couldn't tell you anything, right? Years and years ago when it was a side hustle, I'm like, I don't know, I did some jobs. So are you tracking right now how you're getting a hold of your customers, or how they're getting a hold of you, what the revenue is, lifetime value? Are you tracking that kind of stuff now?
I'm tracking it, but I don't have a system for it. Like, I can tell you what works for me, when it works for me, and when it doesn't work for me.
Okay.
I like it changes. Like, I'm still kind of tweaking stuff when it comes to advertising, but it's changing for me. Haven't did Facebook ads, only did them out maybe twice this year, but last year they was like my main thing. So it kind of changes for me, and I kind of got a number. Put it like this: the super bad months, I bother not to look at it, but the better months is when I'm like, okay,
so
you should definitely just write it all down.
Write everything down.
Goes off on this because he's gonna really just tear this one up. But write it all down. And what I would do, honestly, I know it sounds crazy, but man, I would get excited about the shitty months, the shitty times. You know why? Because you're gonna see, especially since you're part time, you're gonna read the story of your part time adventure in junk removal, and in this story, you're gonna see, holy shit, if I just gave it a little bit more effort, I could have multiple of these kind of good months. And then you're going to be like, fuck food packing or whatever the fuck. Like, I'm going to do junk removal full time. I guarantee that's what's going to happen. That's why you have to keep track, because just because it's a bad month, Andy and I both, I guarantee it, we don't want to look at the numbers on the bad months.
We don't, but you have to.
And
you got to.
And then you're like, I'm going to double or triple that number.
Yeah, so my challenge to you there is a couple things, right? I have a coaching client right now, and one of the first questions they're in it full time, or I'm sure they're both part time, but they got a couple of full time employees. They're 9 months into it. I said, okay, how many customers you got? How do you find them? What's the amount of jobs you know? What's the lifetime value? And they got some of it, but they don't know how they got the customers. And I'm like, that's key. And the sooner you can start tracking, I don't care if you use a $10,000 a month system, or Excel spreadsheet, or chicken scratch in a notebook. Like my old man has been 30 years. You want to talk about a guy, right? My dad comes from Hilbert, Wisconsin, right? Podunk little town nowhere, right? And he did remodeling for years, but he finally looked back at his numbers and he's like, man, I make more money doing doors than anything else. So he does doors. He gets almost all of his doors from Lisbon Storm and Screen. Now, if you're from Milwaukee, I know you know where Lisbon Storm and Screen is. It's the place you go on 55th and Lisbon. If you need a door or window, you go there, right? He keeps track of his entire business in notebooks. It just says the month and the year on it, and he can tell you, oh yeah, go back, grab that notebook, green one, right? There you go. And he just, here's the customer, here's their address. And a lot of times he'll write down, oh, it was a break-in, right? That's why I had to do it. Like, he's got, like, Milwaukee Police Department, if someone breaks in somebody's house in the middle of the day, they call him, he goes, replaces their security door or their regular door. He knows that. Now, he knows it because he wrote it down. And if you ask him, he knows how to find it. Now, me, I use high-speed tools. Like, I use a Jobber, and I track every single customer, how to hear about them. I can lifetime sales, all that stuff. That's what works for me. I don't advocate for one or the other, but absolutely, you got to capture that, because then you can say, okay, I got them this way. I spent this much money on the advertising. This is the value. Yes or no, should I go boost Facebook? So now you're not guessing. At first, you're guessing because you got no data, right? And then to Casey's point, you got to be habitual about checking your numbers. Trust me, I've been there where you're like, I didn't want to see. I don't even want to look. Like, to a point where it's Wednesday afternoon, and I know they're going to pull payroll out at midnight on Wednesday, and I don't even want to look at my bank account because I don't know if I can cover payroll, right? And I know I got 24 hours because they pull it on Wednesday. It puts in pending status. And on Thursday night, it comes out. And Friday morning, I've been woken up at 6 o'clock on a Friday morning saying I overdrafted my account.
Yep.
Right.
And I'll tell you this right now. If you don't have overdraft protection, get it.
Get overdraft protection. Right. And then I'm just moving. I'm moving money. Right. I'm moving money. I tell people all the time, my ass writes a lot of my fucking mouth writes a lot of checks. My ass has got to learn to cash. Right. And I've never bounced a check, but I've overdrafted my account. Right. And it's a nuanced thing, but I've always made sure within 24 hours of that overdraft, Chase got their money. Now, everybody else got paid. My employees always got paid. Everybody got taken care of. Mm-hmm. And so you can't be afraid of the numbers. If you look at them habitually, I don't care. I look at my numbers almost every day. I'm looking at the numbers. Actually, I know I look at them every day because I pull Jobber up and I can see how many jobs I got.
You have to be humbled. Like
you got to be humbled.
Get humbled in one way or another. Why not?
I get my ass kicked all the time.
Own?
Yeah. Do it quiet. Do it quietly so you can look introspectively. Like, hey, what do I need to do different? Right? Mm-hmm. So then when you do get the trucks and the trailers and the crews and whatever that success looks like for you, you've already built it into, the habitualness. It becomes a part of your DNA. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Yeah, so my wife used to make me look at her bank account, and she's like, just check it every day. And I'm gonna tell you this right now. I got to a point after the Army and stuff, whatever. I got to a point where I was comfortable enough, right? I had money in my account. I just didn't know how much. And it's because it wasn't a lot, but I also don't spend money. Like I just don't go out and buy new shit. Right. So I never checked my bank account. Well, the issue was that habit bled into when I had other businesses. And it got to the point where my wife was like, just check it. She's like, I don't care what you buy, because she knows I don't buy shit. But she's like, just check it. Yeah. So I had to start checking it every morning. And dude, there were some times I'm like, I really don't want to. I mean, it's been terrible. This is gonna suck. But I did it because you gotta check yourself. You have to look at them like, wow, okay, well, this number is $300, and I know for a fact that I owe $1,900 on this job. So I gotta figure some shit out,
Right.
But that's the thing, is to avoid those issues, you have to recognize them first, right? Because if you don't recognize those issues, how are you going to avoid them? You're just going to keep doing it until you go through 10 LLCs. Yep. And you're like, okay, I'm going to do this again. F that. You don't want to be one of those guys, right?
Right.
You see it all the time. You see contractors pull that shit all the time. Like they'll have an LLC for like a year, and then they bankrupt it, and they open up another LLC, and they do it all over again.
So real quick, one of my early mentors in my junk removal journey, his name was Ray Gagnon. I'm actually going to look up his business because he has I think he just started a new business on Facebook. Anyways, Ray Gagnon. Coaching now too. He's been coaching for years, but he's got a new coaching business. Anyways, Ray, good ass dude. This is what he told me. And I'll carry it to my grave. I will always give him credit. I probably owe him some money. Anyways, there's no such thing as good news or bad news, just new information and what you do with it. So Ray's a Marine Corps vet. He's in the junk removal hustle. He's still part of the franchise organization that I got out of. He has a business called.
He really?
He is. Maybe. Anyways, Business Operational System Success, Inc., right? He's the boss. BOSS, Business Operational Success Systems, right? He's awesome dude, but that's what he taught me, right? He taught me that there's no such thing as good news or bad news, just new information, not what you do with it. And now, as soon as you do that, you get rid of the emotional feeling, and it's a logical perspective. Would you rather know something so you can make decisions, or not know something and be paralyzed by not knowing? Well, of course you're going to want to know stuff. So even early on, even if you don't think the number is going to be great, just fucking look at it. Be comfortable looking at it and leaning into it. And then to Casey's point, when it's good, fucking celebrate. When it's not good, right? Be humble.
Right.
Get back to work. Right. And the answer, the answer is always the same thing. Whether it's where you want it to be or not, the answer is still always the same thing. Get to work.
Yeah.
Right.
And the biggest thing is, man, especially when you're first starting out, when you're newer, a year, 2 years, you're excited about everything new, right? Yep. And you let emotion bleed into your business decisions. And you'll understand this when you look at these Facebook groups, right? And you'll see guys doing all kinds of crazy shit for nothing. Or they're like, hey, what do you think I should charge? Dude, no offense to anybody. I would never, ever leave the future of my business in the hands of someone in a completely different state who I don't know. And that's what they're doing. I don't care if it's one job or two. The reason you don't ask is because, for one, who cares what they think? I don't know their market. They don't know mine. Yep. But the other thing is, if you don't know it, how are you going to learn? How are you going to know it? Because dude, right now, Joseph, you could call Andy or myself every day for a year, and we could tell you answers every day for a year. The second we stop, you are no better off than you were when you began talking to us because you didn't learn anything. You know?
Yeah.
So when you have the ups and downs.
Well, Casey froze up. He was just making a point. God bless. He was just making a point. When you have the ups and downs, I don't know what he's going to say. All right, I'll jump into it. Casey, you froze up again. You had a you
What
looked
happened?
you froze up. You said ups and downs and you froze. You look really committed to whatever you were saying though.
I was starting to feel it.
Oh, it was just next year you're gonna have ups and downs. They're just gonna be different ups and downs. You'll get through the ups and downs this year.
Yep.
But that's the thing is you're always gonna have those ups and downs. They're just gonna be different kind of ups and downs.
And your job as the owner is to level it, right? If you're doing this roller coaster thing, we see entrepreneurs do this, right? The difference between an entrepreneur, an operator, and eventually owner is how flat you can make that, right? Entrepreneurial world is like this. It is ebbs and flows and it's up and down constantly, right? Operators like, you know what? I'm going to put systems and processes in place, so I'm going to reduce the ups and downs. Owner is going to say, you know what? I'm going to put people in place of these processes so I can, and I'm going to have this this amount of time. So at first it might look like this, right? But over time, it's this nice gradual up because you're consistently building, and then the anxiety drops, right? And the more you know, the less anxious you are going into things, right? The less anxious you are to say, man, I don't know if I should spend that money on that boosted post. Well, you got to think to yourself, hold on. Last time I did a boosted post, this is the result. I want some more of that result. So I should or should not make this decision. So knowledge is key. Information is key. So I would challenge you to put the work in to yourself to document that. So when you do go to make decisions later this year and next year, you have it. When people are their first 6 months in business, there's not much I can do to support them because we don't have any data to work with. You already got some data. Like you got to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
So,
definitely.
All right. So you've watched, so we're on episode 29. So you've been watching episodes. What are some questions you got? Let's just do some rapid fire. Let us jump into your business, right? Casey and I will come here and make recommendations, right? If I was Joseph, this is what I would do. What questions you got for us?
Okay. What can I do to get to a owner status opposed to me just being the one cranking out jobs and actually seeing the revenue? A lot of it's been trial and error. Now the jobs are getting bigger. So what some things
short answer is quit your day job.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate that. Short answer is the inevitable, right? It's
yes.
Jump in the pool, you know, because you won't know how deep it is if you just in, dude.
That's,
you know.
No, I mean,
yeah, I've showed some good signs. Like summer months is the months where I'm like, okay, I can do better than being here. But then it's just months like starting. This
have you ever
the flat?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard the term "don't live over your means"? Right.
Right.
Same thing in business, man. Don't conduct business out of your means. As in, if you are just starting out, let's say you go full time tomorrow, and you look in your business account, you got $500. Well, don't go spend $500 on stupid shit. Right.
Right.
Keep doing business with what you got. Grow into your business. And a lot of people, they want to live outside their means. Well, they also want to work outside their means. They want to get this business, and then they start just cranking up debt. Or they spend all of their cash on things that they don't need to spend their cash on.
Yeah.
And honestly, what I mean by that is, dude, I would keep cash. We would have a fat envelope of cash, and that would be the junk removal fund, right? So that's like, hey, man, like, we need this randomly throughout the year. Well, we got cash. Let's just go spend that. Not, oh, I need a truck, I need a trailer. Let's go buy a trailer for 10 grand. I'm going to spend 10 grand cash on it. What's stupid is because I'd rather than $100 a month on a trailer that I know for a fact will net me 3, 4, 20 times that much than give all my nest egg of cash onto one little thing.
So the other thing you said, how do you go from the guy banging the jobs to operator and then owner eventually?
Yeah.
And it comes down to your mindset, right? You have to start doing, so Casey said the first thing, right? You got to jump in all in, right? And that's a mindset thing. But then logically, how do you do that? Figure out what it costs you to live for 6 months.
Yeah.
And I'm talking the bare minimum. What is the bare minimum? Your rent, utilities, food. You ain't doing anything else, right? Let's
Family,
just do it.
Whatever you
Right. So let's just do hillbilly math. Let's say it costs you $2,000 a month to live. That's just all in, right? Do everything you got to do today to save $12,000. That goes into your savings, right? You put it. Don't even touch that money. And as soon as you have that 6 month a runway, you quit your job and you take off.
Bounce.
And now you use that 12, right? And now you use a portion of that 6 months, right? I would keep 90 days of cash to pay my bills, or prepay your bills for 90 days. Pay all your bills for 90 days. Right here. Or at least put that money aside. Like, this is the don't touch money.
Yeah.
Right. And then take that other, let's call it $6,000, that other 90 days worth of runway, use that to fund your business, and then go all in. So every day you are banging jobs, or you are networking, you are going in front of people. Now, the flip side is you sound hungry, and I love it. I had this customer, it was a customer of mine. I was doing consulting work early this year. This guy was like, yeah, I'm going to do this, 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 this. I'm like, all right, man, let's go. He bought all the equipment. He did all the shit. And within 6 weeks, he wouldn't even return my phone call because I got him a contract. He didn't put the work in. Right? So he spent all of his cash to buy a truck, and he didn't even want to actually do the work. Right now, he was doing logistics and hauling. You've already got 2 years of doing the work. So that's awesome, right? But you got to go out and do the work. Don't go out and buy the big truck that you can't afford day one, because then you're going to be just swimming in a mountain of debt. Do what you got to do with the equipment you got to live. I always say, like, live and think poor. Save all your money as you go. Don't go, like Casey was saying, don't go buying everything you think you need day one. Buy it when you actually need it. Right.
And buy out of necessity.
Right. And there's that balance. Second thing. All right. So quit your job. I guess is the third thing, right? Well, save the money, quit your job. But also, while you're doing this, one thing you said earlier, you're like, oh, I do Decatur County, I do this. Aim small, miss small. One reason Casey and I have both been successful, I don't want to do all of Milwaukee Metro. Milwaukee Metro, including Racine County, is 1.5 million people. I don't want to serve 1.5 million people. Right? City of Milwaukee itself is 600,000. I don't want to try to win all of Milwaukee. Like, so for me, when I first started on 107 the Mill Road, I said, okay, what's everything? Like, for me, I don't want to go I don't want to go basically east of 43. I don't want to go south of 94. So I was like, all right, this is my spot, right? So I'm going to bang around. And then I got to a point where I'm like, man, I don't even want to go past 76th Street. So I want to be like basically like 76th Street and like north of Capitol. So that was like my zone. So find an area where you can be highly effective, because if people only see your truck once every 6 months, you're not going to be rememberable. But if they see you once a week, right? Like, even to this day, visibility, 20% of my jobs, 20 to 25% given a quarter, come from visibility. People seeing our trucks. So you got to win a couple intersections, a couple major intersections. You got to be like, man, that's where I'm going to win, and then win that area. And it's also got to be around where your ideal customer is.
I mean,
yeah.
Yard signs, Facebook yard signs, and a truck that's wrapped will go a long, long way.
But don't
I already got my wrapped truck. My truck is already wrapped. So
there you go. But you know that, right? And then also, here's the other thing. This is something simple that people fuck up all the time. When you go driving, when you go run errands, take your fucking wrap truck, right? You don't need a trailer on it, and park it as far away from the front door as possible, as close to the intersection or the road that goes into that business, right? If I go to Target, I don't care. I'm going to Target with my daughter, for example, right? I park right by the front entrance of the shopping mall or the shopping center, not by the door, because every single person as they're coming and going, I want them to see that truck. Your wrap truck doesn't do you any good in a parking stall. So again, those are the things that separate the winners from the non-winners, or the not winners yet, right? They're doing all those little things. Or like Casey said, put 10 yard signs in the back of your truck, put them down when you can, where you can. If you're stopped for more than 30 seconds at an intersection, chances are the person behind you all day, every day is going to be stopped for more than 30 seconds. Yeah. 30 seconds is plenty of time to put a yard sign in the yard, right? And the grass, right? Like, it's those little things that separate those people. Don't focus so much on the jobs right now. You got to focus on building your brand, right? I like your brand. I even liked it. Like when you first got on, when we were framing your shot, he's like, man, I got to sit just right so you can see my logo. Are we good? Right? But focus on that brand. I think it's simple, but people got to see that, right? Random rubbish, right? I like it, right? So you go with that. So all those little things along the way, that's what's going to separate you from the guy that's just sitting behind his computer like, man, Can't wait for my phone to ring. Man, this sucks. This is stupid, right? People aren't calling me. The weather's bad. You're right. Like, junk removal is cyclical. Up here in Wisconsin, when it rains or snows, people don't call for junk removal. They got other stuff on their mind, right?
Yeah.
It is what it is. But you know what? That's when you go cold call businesses, because guess what? Just like no one's calling your phone, no one's walking in their business. So you can get their attention. Go walk into realtors. Go walk into storage units because they're chilling. No one's going to a storage unit when it's raining out. So you can go in there and be like, hey, what's going on? I'm Joseph. Like, if you didn't know about me, here's my flyer. If they already know about you.
Like, dude, this guy's out in the rain.
Exactly. They're like, man, this guy fucking hustled. And they'll sit there for a half an hour bullshit with you because they're also equally as bored, right? Because they're just chilling. So take advantage of that. But that's a little shit that makes the difference.
Definitely. I agree. 100%.
Well, and the other thing is that the coolest thing is, like, your truck's wrapped. You have a logo. You're already on this podcast talking to us. Dude, you're ahead of a lot of people right now.
Yep.
And I think the biggest thing is, and this is what separates like the entrepreneurs from the non. The biggest issue is fear of the unknown, right? Like, if I quit my job and I go all in, I don't know what it's going to be like. Well, I can tell you this: take the worst month and then double that if you're all in, right? That's just simple math. I mean, hey, my worst month part time was I made $1,000 in a month. Okay, that means if you go full time, you're probably looking at $2,000 your worst month, right? But then double the good months. You know what I'm saying? So you just look at it in those kind of aspects, and then you got to say, okay, well, ask yourself, why are you still working your job? I mean, honestly.
Good question.
That's the question. Don't ask why you want to. We always ask people why you want to be your own boss. So that's kind of, I mean, it's almost obvious for a lot of people, right? Freedom. I want to be in charge of my own schedule. Why are you still working for your current employer, right? That's the root. Why are you only dedicating 50% to yourself and 50% to someone else?
Yeah.
That is great advice, actually, because been at this job 3 years, and I think it's time to go.
It's always, so that's the thing, man. It's always you're always going to have a reason to not do something.
Oh, yeah.
Always. Yeah. And that's the thing is, for me, it just took me to hit rock bottom before I was just like, fuck it, why not? And the answer is never going to be right in front of you. You gotta find it. But the cool thing is, you got guys like Andy, myself, and other guys out there and women that are just killing it. But learn their story. Like, why are you killing it now? Oh, well, because I sucked ass for like 3 years, man, and I learned all this shit not to do.
Yeah, I was listening to James Butler. He does a lot of videos on. I see him on YouTube in the septic system industry, and one of the things. So one of the videos he put up the other day was, people asking, well, why'd you get into this business, right? Septic system, right? That's even worse, from a smell perspective than our jobs, right? But he said, hey, a better question to ask is not why you got into it, because anybody can get into an industry without knowing, but is moreover, why does he stay?
Yes.
Right. And one of the things that he said why he stays is he goes to the landfill when he's dumping off sewage. He sees his competition, and his competitors will sit there and bullshit with him and talk with him. And they'll talk about the challenges. And they'll talk about the industry. They talk about how they can make the industry better. Right. That's, for me, that's motivating. That's why we do this podcast. What can we do to stay? How can I keep even more stuff out of the landfill? Hell, we had some stuff come in yesterday. It was like art. And one of my guys like, man, you don't need art dealers in the area? I'm like, man, I haven't seen a painting worth going to art dealer in probably 5-6 years. But I was like, yeah, let's go look for some art dealers, right? And I don't know if these paintings are worth anything or they're worth garbage, but hell, it's worth the adventure to go learn, right? So why do I stay in it? Because the people that are in it, not only the people that are hustling like you, right, that want to get motivated, I also know those people that are going to take stuff or buy stuff that I can keep out of the landfill. And so for me, that's my motivation. That's why I stay in it. Because it's not like I'm going to solve every problem and teach everybody everything. There's going to be new stuff that comes in or new old stuff that I already forgot. Like, I already forgot where I took art. I know I took art somewhere like 5 years ago, but I haven't seen art in 5 years that was worth taking somewhere. Or like, my brother used to handle that stuff. He's out of the industry now. So it's like, okay, well, what am I going to do? So you got to figure out your why beyond, I don't want to have a job. Because then on those shit days, those shit months, you'll be like, oh, yeah, this is why I'm doing this. right?
Dude.
I'm building a business for my family. I'm building a business for my future. I love recycling. Whatever it is, you got to find out your why. I'm stealing this right from last episode. Robbie D'Angelo, right towards the end of the episode, talked about you got to figure out your why. That's what's going to motivate you when it is difficult.
Yeah.
Simon Sinek said it best, but you know, I'd say the other thing is, like, you're in Atlanta, right?
Yeah.
What is it, like 8 hours from Raleigh, North Carolina?
Yeah, actually, I think the Junk Con is this weekend? If
Next
I'm not
week.
mistaken.
It's like 2 weeks, I think.
No, it's next week. It is literally it is the 12th of October. It is a week. It is 10 days, not even.
Okay, my wedding anniversary is the 11th. So
perfect.
Yeah, I don't want to fuck that up.
Perfect. Take her with you. No, I'm just kidding.
Take her with you. All right.
We're going to California, but yeah, I get you.
I like it.
So I will see this. So real quick, the biggest thing I would do is, like Andy said, when you go to these landfills and stuff, you see your competition, right? Dude, look at pro football. They have owners meetings, right? Off season and during the season. Owners, they meet, hang out, do business deals, bullshit, and they're competitors. Because it's all relative, man. These guys that you see at the landfill who are out there hustling it too, they probably know where you've been, know what you're doing now, and know the issues you're going through. Because they're probably either going through it too, or they've already got out of it. But I've always said this: junk removal is a huge space. And there's enough business to go around. There really is.
Oh yeah, definitely. I've even got some referrals from other junk guys. There was a junk guy that referred me to a guy that was at the time became my biggest job at that particular time. So yeah, man, networking goes a long way.
Correct. Be cool. That's the thing. Be cool. Right. Promote the industry while you're promoting yourself, but don't be afraid of your competition. I told this when I first got into this hustle, and when I was part of the franchise, they said, well, what about your competition? I said, hey, I don't have no competition. I know what I do. I know what they do, right? Mm-hmm. We serve similar customers, and some customers are going to be theirs. Some customers are going to be mine. It's on us to figure that out, right? That's it. All right. What else you got? Rapid fire. Because we got just a few minutes left on the clock today. I got to go play volleyball. I got to hit some volleyball
I
today.
just want to tell you guys I appreciate your podcast. I'm going to continue listening. Yeah, this is my Monday morning podcast. So I listen to you guys Monday mornings, and I appreciate you guys. Yeah. I don't have any questions at the moment, but I love this podcast, and I appreciate you guys.
No, it's fine. So what are some things, right? So to make us better stewards for this industry, what are some things you picked up on the podcast that you otherwise wouldn't have known, so we know what kind of content we need to continue to put out, or guests we need to continue to bring on?
Today, you guys were particularly talking about relationships, kind of this conversation too. That is a big thing. It is becoming a thing for me to actually get out here. Like today, I could have went to a certain area, maybe did some things, but maybe sometimes I'd be nervous to do so. Sometimes I can do it, like storage units. I want storage units. Easy for me to go in storage units, but then apartment buildings. Let me go into this apartment building. So, things like that. We talked about that and how you guys plan. I think one of you guys said after Wednesday, you plan on to the next week. And I'm going to start doing things like that. So, I'm taking that and implementing it in my my planning. So, I'm getting a lot of games from y'all.
No, I appreciate that. And I'm going to double tap that point on relationships. You got to put yourself out there first. You got to be willing to put yourself out there and do something for other people, which I already know you're there, right? You hit us up, right? Like you seem like a real decent person. Put yourself out there first and other people will come. Because if you just sit behind Facebook ads, it's not going to get done, right? Like Casey just go to lunch and park his truck in the middle of a fucking intersection. Like in the turn lane, he'd park his truck right there, right? But he'd go out and he'd go shake 50 hands at a restaurant, right? So you got to continually put yourself out there. And if you're not already, like me, I'm an introvert. A lot of people don't realize that in me, because when I go places, I get loud because I'd rather sit behind a computer all day. I really would. Or I'd rather just go scrapping all day or banging jobs. But what you do is you have to get addicted to that process of going to those apartment buildings, the senior living facilities, the realtors, and be like, hey, this is who I am. This is what I do. And this is why I do it. Because they might not remember who you are.
Elevator pitch. That's it.
Exactly. But also making sure you hit the why. but get that why and make it real and connect. Like Robbie said in the last episode you haven't heard yet. I'm going to give you a teaser, right? But what Robbie said is you got to learn to ask questions. So you go to the apartment complex, right? Hey, how many people you got moving out? What's the struggle? What's the current process? What can I do for you? They'll give you all the answers to the test. Or they might just say, hey, we got our own guys. We got our own maintenance team. Cool. You say, hey, sounds good. Here's my card in case they need some support. I'm always here, right? And let me know what I can do for you. Versus, I do this, right? All this telling. So go in there, ask questions, be vulnerable, figure out your why. And in time, that life you want to build will happen because you're putting the work in.
The best salesmen don't sell. They build relationships.
Relationships.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Definitely.
All right. I like it. I like what we did here. I will say, too, after 2 years, you are significantly farther than I was after 2 years.
Oh, yeah.
2 years, I was still driving around an unwrapped truck on the northwest side of Milwaukee, still deciding whether I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I got into this, let's call it January 2009. I did not take the leap into full-time junk removal until June of 2016. So for 7 years, I convinced myself not to quit my job, not to go all in, right? So when I'm preaching to you, it's not like, oh, yeah, I just woke up one day and fucking made it happen. No, I've been in your shoes. And again, I don't have regrets because we all did something in this world that got us to where we're at today. However, I allowed myself to be convinced by myself, my own choosing, that I wasn't ready yet. But the fact of the matter is I was always ready. I just didn't know it yet. So that's what I want to leave us with today. If you're in this hustle, wherever you are in this hustle, part-time, full-time, looking to exit, right? If you want to do something, I'm not saying do the absolute last step, but today and always take the first step. This is the key to success in life, the key to success in business. Joseph, it's been awesome having you on the podcast. I want to see you be successful. I want to have a huge fucking win in the junk removal business discussion group, right? Big fuck off win the day that you put your notice in at your job, right? Because that's a celebration for all of us, right? Because we need more fresh blood, good people that want to be in this industry, that want to make a difference for their community. Thank you so much for jumping on the podcast. Continue to listen. We love your feedback. Appreciate your feedback. For everybody out there that is in this hustle, this is the time we make this industry great. But it starts with you. Let's build this thing together. On behalf of Casey Bubba Lawrence, I'm Andy Weins. This has been another episode of the Trash Talk Business Podcast. We're going to do it again next week to grow, scale, and build our junk removal dreams. Thank you.